be a timer or something that came. Oh, we're live now. Okay. Well, hello there. My name is Tayakemi, and it's March the 5th here in sunny New Zealand, or most likely still the 4th where everybody else is. That is awake. So wherever you are in the world, welcome to our 32nd, can you believe it, 32 down, TELx Council meeting. So I'll begin with the usual quick summary. The TELx Council is a local governance group within the wider Telcoin Association and is responsible for representing the general interests of and informing the community in all matters pertaining to TELx, which is the self-custodial liquidity engine of the Telcoin platform. The Telcoin Council has authority over all TELx operational rules and also has the mandate to alter TELx harvesting rules in order to regulate the flow of TELx issuance in the form of minor rewards from TELx. The TELx Council can also create new liquidity pools in order to incentivize and help support the wider Telcoin ecosystem. The Telcoin Council accepts through the Telcoin Forum TELx improvement proposals, aka TELx IP, which can amend or introduce new elements to TELx. So these bi-weekly meetings provide a platform for the authors of TELx IPs, which, as a reminder, can be any member of the community, not just council members, to present their proposals to the council and wider community. This allows the council members to review, debate and refine these proposals to eventually reach a consensus. The proposal is then put forward to a formal approval vote through snapshot. Participation in these snapshot votes are mandatory for all TELx council members, and in order for a proposal to be approved, there needs to be a 5 out of 6 majority vote in favour, and all 6 members must vote within 7 days from the date of the proposal being uploaded to snapshot. These council meetings also provide several critical functions for our governance. They help provide transparency to our community and provide a semi-formal structure for our discussions. They provide a medium for regular TELx ecosystem updates and help facilitate the maintenance and improvements to the TELx website. And finally, and probably most importantly, they allow the wider community to directly engage in Q&A with the council members, which in turn helps promote overall ecosystem health and social well-being. So for today's meeting, Andrew will be hosting. He's in a car somewhere in Canada, and we'll now have a short recap from our last meeting. So over to the UK, Boo Classic. Thank you.
Thanks, Ty. So let's start with Merkl and V4 pools. The Council combined discussions of Uniswap V4 pools and the Merkl integration, as both topics are closely connected. Leo outlined 2 Merkl reward distribution options following discussions with Baptiste. The per wallet option allows any wallet with at least one subscribed TELx LP position to receive rewards at a cost of $3,000. The per position option requires each position to be individually subscribed, costing $6,000. Council members favour the per position model to ensure greater granularity and maintain a direct comparison with the current reward structure. Integration would take approximately 2 weeks after approval, but a formal governance proposal must first be submitted to the forum, open for feedback and passed via snapshot vote. Payments can be spread over 6 months, totaling approximately 2.175 million TEL, around 363,000 TEL per month. Funding is likely to come from existing TELx operational wallet, which holds 10 million TEL and has not been used, avoiding any reduction in pool incentives. The Council is considering shifting from a fixed 6-pool allocation model to a more flexible formula-based reward distribution system, and adopting Merkl will allow faster adjustments when adding or modifying pools. Moving on to EXYZ digital dollars. There's still a need to coordinate with holdings and pool regarding future stablecoin pool requirements, and USDC/EUSD pools have been launched on Base and Solana via Uniswap and Radium, though responsibility and oversight remain unclear. And finally, a miscellaneous section. Base may move away from the optimum OP stack, potentially requiring software retesting once live, so we may need to be cautious going forward working on Base for the next few months. Recent Telcoin reward delays caused by corrupt measures are now in place. TELx University is awaiting final licensing and polishing before launch. Balance of pool issuance was replenished by a multi-signature transaction, and the TELx website fee display bug has been fixed and will be included in the next update. That concludes the recap of the last meeting. So over to Andrew.
Thank you, Ty, for the forward. Thank you, Boo, for the updates and the recap. Yeah, so first topic of discussion, I would say let's jump into the Merkl proposal. Ty, I don't know if you wanted to walk through. I think, Boo, you did a pretty good summary of kind of recapping what the proposal was going to look like anyway. But we formally have pushed it to snapshot. I believe, at least from what I saw, we have 5 out of the 6 already who have voted. So I think we just need one more, whether or not that's Leo for the Tau, for the missing seat that we have. But Ty, did you want to, because I know this was yours, this is your first one, did you want to maybe just dive into the proposal a little bit more? I know it's been on the forum for almost 2 weeks now. Obviously not a lot of comments, but a lot of views. Some support from community members that I've talked to and all that kind of stuff as well. But essentially, high level perspective, it's really those 2 options where we're looking at kind of option 1 for $3,000, which was a little bit more open in terms of what we're going to be tracking and measuring, and then option 2, which was a little bit more money, but a little bit more of a kind of sniper approach. And I think it pushes a little bit more of what we actually wanted to get out of this kind of trial and test. But Ty, maybe I'll kick it to you for just some words from you on that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah. There's not really much more to add from what Andrew and Boo have said. I'll read. Okay. Let's go back a step actually. So for those that maybe don't know, Merkl is a DeFi incentive distribution platform that helps protocols such as TELx design and automate liquidity mining reward programs. So instead of manually sending tokens to liquidity providers like we do now, projects can set up a campaign and use Merkl to programmatically allocate the incentives based on daily chain activity. And we can set those parameters to help balance the distribution of rewards. So in the example of the balancer V2 pools, which are really old school now, the equation we use is simply the amount of liquidity that a provider provides compared against the total liquidity that's provided for any pool. That share gets a straight percentage of the weekly rewards. For V4 type pools, it's slightly different because these are more sophisticated and more modern liquidity pools. The way they work is that it's concentrated liquidity across a certain range. So when you provide liquidity, you actually don't just assign tokens into the pool. You assign tokens, but that's operationally within a certain range that the two tokens trade against. And based on the fees that you receive, that then contributes to your share of the rewards each week. So if your position goes out of range because the market shifts and the trading balance between the two tokens is such that your position falls out of range, you don't earn any fees and you don't get any rewards until it comes back into range. And we had to write a special hook to accommodate that calculation and monitor that activity. But we don't want to have to modify that hook and have to get it audited every time we apply that sort of logic to a new pool. Also, if pools change, then we have to redevelop something else. So Merkl is a tool that actually does all that for you. And because it's working with a number of different providers, it makes sense to explore how Merkl would operate for us in the TELx environment. So the purpose of the proposal is a proof of concept to see in parallel how that would work with the TELx reward distribution. And during the period of that proof of concept, we'd only be comparing what would happen. We wouldn't actually be distributing double rewards. So we're using the base V4 pool, TEL and ETH against the Merkl setup. And that's basically what the proposal is all about. I see Boo's raised a hand, so maybe I've missed something or said something.
Just an update for when you finished. Just looking at the snapshot page, we've actually got 6 out of 6 votes, so 100%. Looks like we end this snapshot vote on March the 10th. We can't finish it any earlier, but just to let you know, that's all completed and we've all voted.
Okay, thanks, Boo. Yep. So that's a little bit of a background and supplementary to what Boo and Andrew's already said about the proof of concept proposal. I should add it's the first one that I've actually elevated to a vote. It's the third one I've actually written, but the first two never quite made it through the discussion and reaching consensus stage of the process, which is all good. So I'm looking forward to, 6 out of 6, excellent. So that's a good start for me anyway, getting a proposal accepted and voted on. Okay, over to you, Andrew, unless there's any other questions from the community or anything on this. No, I can't see anything. Okay, Andrew.
Yeah, no, good job, Ty. Well done. Yeah, like you said, I think it makes sense for us to kind of at least review our options and kind of see, what else is out there to, take a little bit off our plates and try to automate things, as much as possible. So really looking forward to the review, the analysis, all that kind of stuff. We'll likely have to put together kind of a report as like a debrief of what we found, what the expectations were of what we were looking for and all that kind of stuff. So I'd say, as we kind of get this passed, which likely will be obviously next week, let's start thinking about kind of, what the scope of everything that we're trying to get out of it, and start putting maybe the bones of a report together and kind of getting that framework up and ready to go, so it's a little bit easier afterwards.
I should add, actually, Andrew, once it passes the vote, which we assume it will now, we'll contact Merkl, and they have a 2-week lead-in before any changes can be made and set up the system. So once it passes, which is scheduled on March the 10th, then it will take probably 2 weeks and maybe a little bit longer then for them to develop the changes that we've requested for Merkl. So it's going to be a month at most before we actually start running the proof of concept, because it needs to be scheduled from Merkl's point of view, and then it needs to be developed. So there's going to be a period of time while we're just waiting on the modified version of Merkl to be available for us.
Yeah, I've just got a question for Leo, actually. If the vote's already passed with 6 out of 6, but clearly won't end until the 10th, are we allowed to approach Merkl earlier? Because obviously I think they do their planning on Fridays. or is the first thing they want payment, in which case we need to wait till after the 10th?
Good question. I mean, we can approach them and find out, but I think you're spot on. Yeah, we shouldn't really make payment before the vote passes, just because people can change their votes, and it's kind of how it works. Let's ask, and maybe we can get the ball rolling already.
I was just going to say, add on to that too, that compliance needs to review, and that typically takes 2 days too, and they could veto it if they feel it's necessary. Not that I'm expecting them to, but I would assume that we wait until everything is, done, signed, sealed, delivered before we, start having that conversation with BAPT. If everything goes according to plan, like we talked about at our internal call last week, kind of working backwards, if everything is good snapshot by, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, we have, 48 hours for compliance to review. We could touch base with Baptiste next Friday, and that would be the timing for the 2 weeks to build it out. And Ty, exactly like you mentioned with like the timing, like the 4 weeks is likely going to happen in April, with a review happening in, early mid-May. So yeah, that's kind of at least the scheduled timeline of what things will look like for the rollout of this.
Spot on, Andrew. Full marks. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, is there any other questions, comments, concerns, specifically as it relates to Merkl and or Uniswap pools? Boo, like you mentioned, they are kind of tied at the hip right now with those two things that we're kind of working on in tandem. But yeah, anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns? Once, twice, 3 times. Okay, good. Again, anybody in the community listening to this afterwards, you could always reach out to us. Telegram, Discord, X, wherever you guys are on. Feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to answer any questions about Merkl, Uniswap, or anything else going on with TELx. So, next up, agenda-wise, if my memory serves me correctly, chatting a little bit maybe about the EXYZ pools. Mike, I see that you're here, and I don't necessarily want to put you on the spot, but maybe if you can come up and just speak to kind of where things are at with there, and if we're getting a little bit closer to, maybe getting a meeting with Holdings to get understanding from where they are. Obviously, a lot going on this week with MWC, and most of the team being in Barcelona, but hopefully maybe we have a little bit of an update that you can share with us.
Yeah, it's been about a bit, kind of busy on the Holdings front, and like I think it'll be beneficial to have a call and combine with like other members of Holdings, like the TAN Council and Parker, and potentially get Paul on a call. But it's been a lot of travel lately, and a lot of focus on getting V5, out the door and getting a live product out versus, how to incentivize or where to try to where the TELx Council's role would fall into EXYZ. So I can understand that we want to have some more clarity surrounding that. I haven't been able to get any additional sort of information or sort of like EXYZ sort of roadmap or plan. So I don't have anything to bring to the table on that today.
Okay, no worries. Thanks for the update, Mike. Yeah, I know there's a lot going on with the app, the network, the formal launch of Holdings, and some of the other stable coins that they have on different chains and all that kind of stuff too. But yeah, like you said, it would be good for us to have a little bit of understanding what the plans are, just because as we talked about with kind of like that backwards timeline, like if we're going to be incentivizing some of these pools, like we need to know a month, maybe 6 weeks out, so that we can put it through the forum. We can, get the pools created. We can get some liquidity initially in there. We can run through all of the mechanics that we need to, whether it's through Uniswap or Balancer or whatever protocol we're going to use. And then even understanding kind of what's going on, whether distribution of the incentives is going to go through Merkl or through us. So for me, it's just more of like future planning and making sure we have our ducks in a
Absolutely.
row, and that
Yeah.
when, they're ready to get things going, we're hand in hand doing this together. It's not like, okay, hey, we're going to launch this, and then we're 6 weeks away from incentivizing it. That just doesn't launch well, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
no,
for me, that's more
I
of what
don't
it is. But
disagree with you. I do know it's been a lot of delay in getting to that sort of information, and trying to figure out what that plan might be. It's ultimately going to mostly come down to like the first like target market, and when that market launches, like a cross-border remittance corridor, and like that would be like a quarter by quarter scenario where we going into like focused into additional markets. And so I think there will be, I think that plan is out there. I just don't have it ironed out and fully understand it myself. And so we need to get that information. And I will push harder on that now that MWC is going to be in the rearview mirror. And there's a couple of more conferences. I don't think we're going to be able to. The trouble is that I have a very close personal relationship with Paul, but that's the way I kind of like to keep it. And he's got so much travel planned, all these different conferences throughout the rest of this month. And so asking him to come on to the TELx call has been somewhat trouble. I just feel like it just never falls within the time period that we do it is never in a time period where he doesn't have something else going on already. So we'll get there. Maybe we have to do like a meeting based on his schedule coming up towards the end of the month. I think that would probably be beneficial, and just kind of pivot. Whoever can make it, and then we're going to schedule around him and around maybe get Parker and Grant and all these guys kind of that are on the back end of EXYZ on the holding side, and just say, okay, like how can we support you guys, and what's the the penciled roadmap where we can start thinking about what we want to do as an organization.
yeah, no, I think that totally makes sense. And my thoughts were trying to get him on one of these calls, because I feel probably some of this stuff, may not need to be public in terms of planning stuff. Like once it goes to the forum, then obviously it's public and it's, accessible. But yeah, no,
Right.
like if we can get Paul on his time, then that's fine too. Or to your point, like if, it makes sense to have a meeting with Parker, Grant, just to understand the process, the flow, and what the thoughts are behind it, then for me it's just more about planning and getting ahead of things as opposed to playing catch up.
Absolutely.
It makes a lot more sense, being prepared, over prepared, so to speak. Okay. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns on EXYZ stuff? Once, twice, three times. Okay. Okay, agenda-wise, maybe Ty or Boo, is there anything else? Like I know there's some other miscellaneous stuff, like the website, which is going to roll into the greater web presence kind of proposal. We've got obviously the TELx University, but Ty or Boo, you highlighted that obviously that we're just waiting on a few things in the recap. So in terms of other stuff that, we wanted to discuss today, is there anything else that we were missing?
Yeah, I think there were some activity on the TELx UI, but I think both Ty and Eric probably know the details better than I do. Or maybe not.
I have to look for the unmute button. No, I talked with Khalil, and he's gonna change something about the status period on the website. And we were also looking to update a few other stuff, but we still have to talk with Khalil about that. So for now, it's the period update. It was still on September 25, I think, or something. And there's going to be a liquidity guide, well, not a liquidity guide, but actually how to pull liquidity from the contract. Whenever there should be an error on the UI, when it's not accessible, or any way or the other. It's always possible to pull out liquidity through contracts, and if you're in DeFi, I think this is something that everybody should actually know how to do it. So we're going to put a guide on there how to manually pull the liquidity from the contract. So yeah, it's cool to have it there.
Yeah, that'd be good, Eric. So that's that'd be good to see. It's clearly beyond the scope of most people, but it's always nice to have a backdoor and good DeFi practice. So yeah, we'll welcome seeing that once that's written down and shared with the community.
Yeah, well, also when I talk about university now, I believe it's still in progress, but it would also be a good thing to put this stuff on the university website, so everybody in DeFi actually knows this stuff. Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I think on the uni, if Leo wants to maybe jump in and give us the latest, because I think he's had a meeting with Storm on the handover.
Yeah, met with Storm, and we'll be kind of driving it forward. We're going to kind of pick up where they left off, and that should be in action soon. It's not too much more to say on that, I think.
Okay, and just a shout out to Leo. The rewards for the distribution this week, period 29, I think it is, have already been prepared and are just awaiting sign off. So I have noticed for the last couple of weeks, these rewards have been coming out very, very quickly after the period ends. So hats off to Leo, because he has to run the script to generate the rewards. So thank you, mate. Thank you for that hard work you do in the middle of the night sometime.
Much obliged. Cheers, team.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Again, sorry, I'm just driving, but on the agenda, is there anything else outside of kind of open Q&A that we wanted to run through?
I don't think so, Andrew. I think we're fairly, fairly covered everything. I did make some changes internally to our Trello task cards, which you've probably all seen. So we should always, just a reminder to refer back to those cards and update them with any pertinent information as each task moves forward.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ty. Okay, any questions from the community or anything like that? If not, I think we can call this one a little bit more efficient and less time than our usual. Maybe I'm not talking as much, so that helps.
I've just got one thing to point out, and we were mentioning it just before the call. If we can just confirm the date and, more importantly, the time for the next call, please.
Should be 2 weeks from today, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Right, so I think we're in the middle of a clock change around the world, aren't we? So this is the crazy 4 weeks that kind of hit New Zealand first, hit the US in the middle, and certainly the UK 2 weeks later. So
if you're in the UK, you'll think the meeting's an hour earlier than it is. It is not. So the US time change, which is what the Google doesn't automatically adjust that, because the clock it adjusts it based on the person that made the schedule, right? So, which is what Nick and I figured out. So it'll say, I think for you guys, for instance, that it'll be at like 7. Like right now, what is it, 7 o'clock for you guys?
in the UK, it's
Yeah.
2030.
Okay, so it'll say that it's an hour earlier when it's actually not. It's going to think that daylight savings time, because the US is not on daylight savings time and you guys, or other way around, the US does go to daylight savings time, but you guys haven't yet. So it makes my calendar updates it to an hour earlier, where it hasn't for you guys yet, if that makes sense. So it's going to stay the same time for you, regardless of what the calendar says, until your daylight savings.
I think I'm going to set a challenge out for Dali to make sure we're all in sync. So that's it from me. Thanks.
Thank you, Boo.
Yeah, just on the next meeting, let me see, that should be on the 18th, isn't it? 18th of March. Mike's hosting, and Boo, you seem to be on the recap again. I don't know, because we've been jumping and covering for other members. But I
that's
don't know if you're okay with that, then we'll just go back to the schedule that's published, which is Mike is hosting and Boo, you're on the agenda recap.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, mate, good.
Sounds good to me.
All right, lovely. I think that's a wrap then, guys.
Yeah, nope, sounds like it. All right, thanks everyone, and we'll touch base soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
All right.